We're back
with season 2.
Act Natural Podcast season 2, starring John and Courtney. Here
That's
we
us.
are in a new place, a little bit more different, a lot different.
In a new place, in a new time, with a new season.
Act Natural season 2.
Okay, so I just wanted to basically touch base with our lives now in season 2.
Okay.
At this point, we have moved locations.
We no longer live in Martin, Tennessee. We moved to an apartment in Jackson.
We're over here in the Jackson Walk, coming at you live.
Don't want to tell them that, though.
Oh, it's okay. I just told them. Over here, coming at you live from the Jackson Walk
Getting
Plaza.
fit, living the life.
Getting fit, getting hip. I'm just saying the same things that you're saying.
We're close enough to Martin to be able to maintain a presence in the coffee shop and with the clients that we have there.
So let's talk about what our daily lives look like, and then we can talk about the why, and then we can talk about what's next.
Let's get out live. Let's
Okay,
go.
so our daily lives right now look like either me or John staying home with Henry, while the other one is either working on a project in Jackson or working on a project in Martin. There's also been some other travel. So one person is at home with the baby and the other person is traveling doing work. That's the way I should put it.
Yeah, and it's mostly been Courtney. Like this has been, we've not done a podcast in, I'm not sure how long. It's been several months.
Season 1 ended and season 2 began.
Yeah, and inside this new season, a lot has changed. And we're not going to like hash out all of it. But one of the biggest changes is I have officially become a stay-at-home dad. Like it's been a lot different inside of my workflow of waking up early in the morning, going into the coffee house, drinking a bunch of coffee, editing a bunch, going throughout the town, doing whatever, working with my little creative team. Well, now it's I wake up in the morning, I have a coffee here, and then I'm watching Henry because you're substitute teaching.
I'm substitute teaching, which is super fun. I'm not even gonna lie. It's got a lot of variety, which I really love, and it allows me to have some just me time on the drive, so that's really enjoyable. And yeah, we switch back and forth. It's not like I'm subbing every day, and that's part of the reason why I want to do it is because it allows me to go out and have kind of my own thing for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then I can also say no if Henry has an appointment or we have a commitment or we have a job with Fernway Fox or something.
Yeah,
So-
and we're in this weird gap time where the official wedding season starts up around mid-April, and we have 28 weddings booked for this season. A lot of them are double packages, so we'll have a film and photography crew, and then we'll have another film and photography crew on the same day. And some of them are back-to-back where it's Saturday and Sunday.
Or Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, really booked up. And so we have been like fortunate to be able to move right before the wedding season starts.
Yeah, get settled, get our ducks in a row before the chaos begins.
That being said, we don't have a couch yet, and we don't have like a bed frame yet. We're just sleeping on the floor in sleeping bags. No, we have the mattress.
We have a mattress.
But we're still not officially moved out of the place in Martin. I was there today and got a bunch of things out of the attic. It's just when you move somewhere, you don't realize how much crap, and then you think that you're going to label everything into different isolated bins that have dividers that have the little notes on where they're going to go in the new place. That's what I always wanted to do.
I was doing a good job going in John's standard
I
of
think that-
packing.
and-
Everything was great. Everything was fine. And then we ran out of time.
Yeah.
And then things stopped being in boxes and they started being thrown in trash
trash
bags.
bags.
And it's fine.
And now
That's
we're
how
out of
people
trash
move.
bags.
Now we don't have trash bags, and I just bought some more today, so that's good.
So we're still in this weird gap time of workflow where we're not super committed to any body of work right now, except for like substitute teaching, which you can choose off and on.
Substitute teaching, and then there's been a couple of jobs coming through, some clients with Fernway Fox, so that keeps our creative thing going. But that's not as busy as it has been, But it's also, it's still going, and we still have like jobs that we're doing right now in this season. So that plus the subbing is kind of a nice little bridge onto wedding season.
And inside the beginning of a year, marketing work for us takes a little bit of a lull. And it's like wedding season and heavy marketing work always hits around mid-March, April, and that's when
Yeah.
everything really, really happens. And so we've had a blessed time to be able to move, but still it's been a rush to get everything here and organized and adapt to this new life and changing the mailing address and canceling our internet service where it still charged us for a whole month.
Yeah, they make you take your equipment or whatever back to the cable people. I feel like that's interesting. I feel like that's relatable to people.
Yeah,
You should talk about that process.
We paid for a whole entire month, and it wasn't prorated, so I lost some money there.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I hate it. Boycott Charter. But other than that, it's been, I don't know, it's been very difficult. At the same time, it's been really refreshing to be in a fresh area where we don't know anybody and no one really knows us. And even going to church has been really amazing in an area
So nice.
where no one knows us. And it's like there's no expectation, there's no... and like not a lot of people know us, but when you're from a small town and you've lived there we've been married for 4 years, and
whenever your husband markets your lives the way that he does.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we marketed the coffee shop through a personal brand. I felt like it was an experiment. I didn't know if that would work. I read a lot about that, and I felt like people would connect more to a personal story. And, coffee there's lots of different grades of coffee. You have fair trade organic. You have things that go beyond that in cooperative coffees. You have relationships with farmers and where you invest inside of that growing family unit overseas that grows while you grow. So like there's all different levels and quality of coffee. But at the end of the day, a lot of people will go and get whatever's convenient for them. So we had a lot of stuff that we wanted to bring over to this new area. I forgot where I was going with that.
I don't know what you're saying.
I was like getting into coffee, but then we were...
I said that you marketed our family.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
And you're saying
Thank you.
like that's how you can go about, and I love it. I wouldn't have changed it. I'm
talking about is
it
this.
resulted in people knowing us.
Yeah, what I was talking about is like coffee, there's humongous levels inside of that. But at the end of the day, I felt like a personal brand that was strong with our family serving coffee. I think people would support that more, is what I'm saying. I just got off on a tangent on coffee. I keep on looking at it over at the kitchen counter, wanting some. I wish I would have got some of yours before.
You can have some of mine.
Okay.
It's really good.
But, and it worked. I think that over the past, it's been an awkward month for us. I don't want to get too into all that kind of stuff, but it really, I think our community showed up for us and showed us how much that they support us. And I don't think that they would have ever done that if they didn't have such a insight into our life.
I feel like it's like a personal relationship.
Well, we opened it up. I mean, we've been vulnerable with how we operate and our feelings on everything, and the house that we just moved out of. When we took all of our crap out of that house, I was like, oh my gosh, this, we were blessed to live where we were at, and I don't want to say
it was a really, really cute house. It was my house that I lived in during the latter part of college, and it was really, really precious. But whenever you take all of our stuff out of it, and you're just kind of looking at piles of things, and then like some stuff that's trash or some things that are broken, some things that we need to donate, and you just see these little piles, and there's no furniture to cover up everything. Like you could...
It was a much older house.
It looked a little... It's not as nice.
Well...
It's a little drabby.
Yeah, and it wasn't repaired. Like, we had a good landlord, but there was like things that needed to be repaired that wasn't repaired. And then those things kept on, growing in their non-repairedness if they were damaged.
Well, things wear down over time, and it's an older house from the 50s. So
moving into
it has a granny vibe, which I've always been about the granny vibe. But right now I'm really excited to not have the granny vibe. I feel like there's a time for every season, and I'm in a different season. I'm enjoying it. It's good.
Yeah. We gave everything to that shop. Like we didn't have a table.
That was our reason. Like we had a great rate. Yeah, $400 a month, which is just unheard of anywhere. We were able to have 2 bedrooms and have a washer and dryer and, a yard and all of that stuff, and live in a really safe place. And, Henry took his first steps there, and it's just a really, really safe, good house for that, and lots of really great memories. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Because of the low rent, we were able to just like push everything toward the shop and be like, yeah, let's buy this for the house. Actually, no, it would look better in the shop. Okay, cool. No problem. Not even like a second thought. Like,
Yeah,
let's just
like-
give it to the shop.
Even this table we brought over from the shop because we had 2 extras upstairs. It was just so neat to see like this table by that white wall. And it was like, oh, this is exactly like everything in that shop I want at this place because it's all our style.
Right. And it's funny. It's like,
These plants too. I
it
have
seemed
these
like we were
plants.
surprised. Like we like brought it into the apartment. We're like, oh my goodness, it looks like the shop. And we're like, but that's because we designed the shop.
But
So
we
we're
just-
going to have things that look like us.
It was a weird space for me, to be honest, like living inside of a place that did not reflect our own personal style nor the standard of the furniture. Like, you know, I had this $25, $50 entertainment center that I bought in college so many years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it was just there forever. And then the floor was like kind of sinking in a little bit.
Oh
And
my goodness. I noticed the other day, like Henry was sleeping, like I got him down and I was sitting there reading a book or something. And my dad's staying with us for a little bit before he goes back into the mountains for like 5 months.
Yellowstone. Is it Yellowstone again?
It is Yellowstone. I made it seem like he was just like
mountain
going to
man.
disappear into the mountains.
Well, if you've seen
but
her dad, you might think that. He
but
might still be that, to be honest.
He has a job. He has an employer
Yeah.
for Yellowstone, Delaware North.
Let's
anyway,
get into this. Hold
I'm
on.
sorry.
No. How long is he staying?
He was supposed to be gone.
It's fine. He's not
He's-
here now, is he?
I expected him here right now. I'm really, really excited
The
about it.
meatloaf was great.
He
okay?
just
He's
watches
watching
our
Henry.
kid. He makes
It's great.
his food.
In-laws are amazing.
No, listen,
and
like
they live with you.
I love my dad so much. He gives me so much like praise all the time for nothing. Like he'll be like, "Wow, you did such a good job." Like getting those dishes done, or like I saw you put Henry asleep, and I was like, well, yeah.
I
And
never
then
got
he
that
like
kind of
cheers
praise.
me on for everything, and I love it so much because I'm like, more.
See, I don't want Henry to be that way. I don't
Well,
want.
I'm gonna cheer him
don't wanna
on for
praise-
everything. You put on your socks.
At this stage, just to clarify, everything he does is impressive. Putting on some socks.
You know what else was impressive? Cramming 4 Cheez-Its in his mouth at one time. I was like,
That's pretty impressive.
don't choke, but you're doing
I was
great.
like, wow, look at my super genius baby.
You're doing great.
That's 4. Go
My
for 5.
point was that I was sitting here and I was occupied with something, and my dad walked by, and my dad is very loud and he clumps his little feet like this. But the floors didn't squeak.
Oh, what was that about? When I was in Japan, okay, and we went to, I'm just going to be careful from using any sort of terminology like shrines or anything, but we went to a place that was designed where they had springs inside of all the wood planks around it for you to hear, like when the enemy was approaching, and you would step on that. And every single time that I would hear your dad at the old place, I was thinking, God, it's so loud. It's so loud. And you just hear it
it was
every
the
single.
squeakiest floor I've ever experienced. And then I see him walking, and it was like, is he gliding right now? Like I hear nothing, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. And so, anyway, that's just another comfort of having this new space.
Oh, I think I think we over leveraged. I over leveraged our time and energy and ourselves in giving to the shop. And you think about it like debt. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was writing in my little book.
He always
all
writes
my
in
own
his
little
little book.
headspace.
He's got his little book, and he
Yeah.
likes to write everything down.
Well,
He's got codes, and he does these little lines, these little dots.
that doesn't matter.
You
What I
can
was-
pick it up, and you'll be like,
What is this? It doesn't matter.
"What kind of alien
Well-
hieroglyphics is this?"
I'm already losing the idea. What did I say? Oh, what? What I'm trying to say is that I was writing down that putting your time into something, you're leveraging your time, you're giving your time. And it's almost like a debt. And you're going to put things into like a business. So I'm going to give all of this money and time and energy. Hopefully someday this business will give back. Well, I looked at our time in Martin the other day and I reevaluated. And I said, I've spent too much of my time, too much of myself, too much of our relationship, too much of my family, too much. I've given too much and I've leveraged too much and I've operated in this debt for too long. And I think that that's caused a little bit of damage. It has with me. And like coming here to a place where, you know, I don't have to worry about, obviously I'm going to change a light bulb if it goes out.
They told us not to.
But
They
the-
said to tell them.
But the extreme example is that. So I feel like I'm completely taken care of. I'm a part of this little fitness community, which I've not,
Little fit.
used yet.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna be fit. We've only been here for like what, a week?
And the time, a week. And the time that we are spending here is paying back what we leveraged.
It's you said today
So-
it's filling you up, and I feel that too. Like just opening up these windows and having some coffee or having some tea.
Exactly.
I just feel rejuvenated, like a little retreat.
And so the house, when we talk about it in this extreme manner, is not a bad place, but it became a bad place. Let's be honest. It's a blessing that we were able to live in this amazing country and have the freedoms that we have. And I think people live in much different places with different accommodations. Okay. So I'm very thankful for like our chapter there.
I'll say on top of that, it's a situation that we put ourselves in.
Yeah. We chose that.
We could have moved houses at any time.
Or bought
But
something.
we felt like we were in a place that we couldn't, because we felt like we had to stay in the trenches. Like we weren't allowed to live in something
We didn't deserve it.
nicer. We didn't deserve it
Yeah.
because everything that we had, we needed to give to the shop, and everything that
And we could have afforded it.
we could have afforded.
And that,
it.
no, that's the thing. Like we could have, it was our like duty to give that and to sacrifice that. We could afford to live inside of a harder place on ourselves, to give more, to sacrifice more.
The thing is like we would still be living there right now, but the situation was like we weren't in an official lease agreement, and so whenever our landlord needed to sell the house, it wasn't a problem. Like she just said, hey, you guys take as much time as you need, but
Buy it or
I'm going to put the
move.
house up on the market. You guys can have first buy
Yeah.
or first option to buy. And, we went through that process, and we were like, we named a number, and we were like, if she says yes to this, is this what we want? And that's whenever it was like, actually, what do we want? And I feel like a lot of couples have that conversation, or should have that conversation. What is it that you're wanting right now? If your work life is more flexible, and I know everyone's may not be as flexible as ours, but we do still have ties and obligations, I'll say,
28 contracts for
to
weddings. It's quite a bit.
to West Tennessee. So we need to be in this area. But if you are tied to a certain area, what do you want after that? Like, what do you want after you fulfill your obligations? What is it that you're wanting? And we wanted, it may seem silly to some people, because I know a lot of people just want like a big yard and land and like a big house and everything. We said we want to go minimal. We want less space, or we want less stuff. It was one of those things where it was like, if we have less space, let the space be open. This is kind of more of an open floor plan, so it makes you feel like you have more space. It's a little bit more. That was 700 square feet. This is like 1,100 or something. So it's a little bit bigger, but we can definitely feel the extra space. And we wanted this sort of environment, and a lot of people would not want an apartment. We wanted an apartment. We were looking at apartments in different locations as well, and we felt peace of mind knowing, for example, if something is damaged, someone else is going to take care of that. And if the light bulb situation.
Sure. Well, we were going to move to Chattanooga, and we were looking at apartments there pretty heavily.
I looked at so many apartments in Chattanooga.
And we were pretty close, but then we started doing the math on what it would take to shoot a wedding here.
The drive situation became a bit of an issue with our clients.
Most of the people here are in West Tennessee, so then that would mean, you can't go. It's 6-hour drive, so you can't drive up there that day, so the day before, and you can't drive home afterwards. So
and then some of our contracts are double day like that, and that would have been an issue.
Yeah, you're adding a 2-day like hotel bill, and we
Yeah.
wouldn't have a place here to stay, and then maintaining the place that we have here to stay doesn't make any sense.
It was just much better, and I don't feel like people think Chattanooga is so much better than I don't know, with the situation that we're in right now with this little community and this church that we're going to. I couldn't ask for a better situation. And I always felt like I don't want to live in Jackson, because I lived here for 2 years during my high school years. And there's this whole, I can name like a bunch of bad things that happened. And I think that sort of influences my views of Jackson, whereas it's a great place to live.
Well, it's a stepping stone for us, I think.
Yeah. And, if we were, like I said, we were still going to be in Martin, and we were still going to be in that house. So this is a good next step.
We wanted to buy a place in Nashville, but oh my gosh, that's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So like I think in this gap time, being here, being a part of a community has been really awesome. And then I think the most important thing for me, what I'm getting the most out of this, is being able to focus on what I want to do next. You talked about like, what do you want to do next? Well, I want to focus on digital, and I want to focus on marketing and our Fernway Fox company and our wedding company, and really push everything inside of this podcast and this digital space while we have a chance to. Coffee, I don't think that I'm going to grow any more with that outside of Martin Coffee House, Martin's Coffee and Bakery, now that we rebranded.
Yeah, there's so much there to grow with as it is and as it stands, and so much to maintain. And I really, really don't necessarily want to add another shop to our stress
Courtney's
level.
always been stressed out about it. I'm
stressed out about everything.
I always joke about it, and I don't think that this is accurate, so you can just correct me right on the spot, which I know you'll enjoy to do that. But I've been describing the situation, the little story of me creating a coffee shop for you, which has been the story. I mean, it's been the truthful story, but then that shop turning it into almost like an allergic reaction. And that's extreme, but I do it like this. It's like giving somebody a cat, but then being allergic to it.
I love cats.
Okay. So, you find out that maybe you have a goal in life. Maybe you have this dream of, I want to own a coffee shop. I want to be my own business owner. I want whatever, right? And then it turns out you open up that door and it's like not what you want it to be. Well, guess what you have the ability to do? Go do freaking something else. Just because you've committed an enormous amount of time and effort and money does not mean that you're stuck to that for the rest of your life. Because what is life about? Being happy, being fulfilled, being involved with family. And so when I realized that about Courtney, and she expressed to me that, hey, there's going to be something else. I was like, okay, let's do something else. So the shop is given over to other people. We manage it. We're super in it. I mean, but we have just rock star manager. We have a great staff. We have a good assistant manager, and it runs on its own. And I don't understand
we're still involved in things. I mean, we're working on, salad recipes right now.
Yeah. I mean, but it's it's not a hobby, but it's more of a passive thing that we do. I'm just being honest about it. It blows me away that people have a trouble understanding that an independent shop can be automated. How many Starbuckses are there? How many McDonald's?
That's
How
a
many
different
Subways?
conversation, though.
It's not, though. It's like this whole process can be like automated, and our lives have been like strategic in building something like that.
You did design the shop to make it run on itself.
In this time, in this space of where we're at now, is so much on the next chapter. And part of it I don't know, which I'm super excited about. And the other part is it's just going to be so much of doing what we love. Not that that's not going to be a hard thing, but it's going to be a challenging thing, like something new, but not reinventing something new. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And we've also, I would like to be said, we've been at the shop. I think I was there 4 times last week, and you were there today. I mean, we're there all the time. It's just...
we're not required.
We're not required to be there. And the shop doesn't necessarily require us to be there.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Is it okay?
Love the
Is
shop.
it okay? Yeah.
It is
You
okay.
seem to always justify that.
Well, you make it seem like I'm not interested in this wonderful, fabulous coffee shop that's like everyone's favorite place. And guess what? It's my favorite place too.
It is. Yeah.
And I drink coffee from there whenever I'm in town, twice a day at least.
Well, see, and that's where I messed up on the. I always say it wrong. I mean, it was that reaction, but the thing is, like, we love spaces so much, we love community so much.
That's my space,
and that's what we create, and we created it in what we desperately wanted for Martin, Tennessee. Like, we wanted this to exist while we existed there, and then we gave everything to do it.
But we also want it to exist forever.
Oh,
that's everyone's question. They're like, "Oh, wait a minute, is the shop going with you?" And we're like, "No." And they're like, "So you're starting another one?" And we're like, "No." And the shop is staying. The shop.
This is what I want. This is what I want to talk about. Just a little bit.
It's not a turtle shop.
I want to talk about just a little bit. Okay, just a little bit. You have the ability to do many things in life. I can be a photographer. I can be a coffee shop owner. I can go start a tech company. I can do you can do everything. And I don't understand the concept of people thinking that you can only do one thing.
I'm going to talk on that for a second. And I agree with you.
Because it affects us. it affects them thinking, well, so you're going to sell a shop. So, but coffee, and before 3 years ago, I knew
didn't know
zero about
anything.
coffee.
Yeah. Another thing, I was talking with I was going to say a fellow teacher, but I'm not a teacher anymore. I was talking with one of my friends who currently teaches, and she said, so are you substitute teaching now? And I said, yeah, I am, and I'm really loving it. And I know she didn't mean it, but there was like a judgment from her with the rest of the conversation. And I think that's what happens with people's jobs and their occupations. Whenever you move on to the next job, if it's not making more money or if it's not of a higher status than whatever your previous one was, it's not better.
I want to talk about this.
And it's like, I'm choosing to do that because I want something more to do, and I want to be in the classroom again, and I wanted variety. So it's so much fun to be open to all grades for the entire Weakley County, because I get to go from like elementary school librarian to like high school honors, like calculus, and just like watch these different groups and like see these humans, like see these people become people. And I know you have something to say.
I don't. I'm going to pause the camera real fast and
okay.
start it.
Like, it's amazing to get to see all these different kids grow up. We're just sharing the same drink. Just go for it. It's my coffee. It's your coffee. It's fine.
Okay.
It'd be like we're kissing.
Oh, gross. Okay, keep going.
But I'm in love with it. I love seeing these different age groups. I love seeing these different schools, especially because at this point in my life, I've spent most of my life in a school. It's just a really fun job. And who cares if it doesn't like make as much money as other jobs do?
So
it's just like a fun thing that I want to do right now.
A little bit more about that, because I was wondering about that too.
Yeah. So I've gotten some judgment from some people. It's just interesting to me, and it makes me a little bit sad knowing that this happens in the world. I was teaching. I was a teacher. And whenever you're a teacher of a school, you make X amount of money. For me, it's like, I'll just tell you, it's like
30-something thousand.
I think, okay, I would bring home 21 every month after taxes were taken out and everything.
And then you had health insurance.
I got health insurance, which is really, really nice, and I don't want to just brush that off. But it was 21 every month was like what was left.
Wow, it's only 25,000. So like the estimated like value of, I mean, that's great. That's 25,000.
I mean, it was like 30 something. But then after all the taxes and after Social Security and after insurance, like it was 21 every month, which is not good. And I've talked to a lot of other teachers and they're like, bro, that's because you were just starting off. And I was like, I know. But think about when you're just starting off as a teacher, you are pushing yourself and you are trying to prove yourself and you're committing to so many things. Yeah. And it wasn't just me. Like, I didn't commit to as much stuff as some of my other classmates did. Like, whenever they got out, they were like, I'm going to coach this and I'm going to volunteer for this. And they would get these little stipends of like $1,200, $1,500. And it was like you were put in a position where if you did not stay after 3:00 for an extended amount of time, and if you weren't there early and if you took too many days off, people thought you were less of a teacher. Like, because you weren't suffering, you weren't doing as good of a job.
So what, I don't understand the judgment.
Oh, anyway, I just switched. I just switched to like a teacher thing for a second. Let me pause on that. I have this friend, and she teaches in Middle Tennessee. And she realized this back when I was teaching, and I would always like support her and comment on her page and everything. But she realized, like, I'm allowed to leave at 3 because this is my job. I can take work home if I want, or I can not take work home, and I'm still valuable and I'm still a good teacher, because so many people in the education realm would like kind of shame you.
Well, it's about the culture. I mean, there's a lack of respect even in the design of the buildings.
Even in design
I've told Courtney walking past these places, like educational buildings should be the most not luxurious, but the most artistically created, architecturally interesting spaces.
They should be innovative.
Spaces for people to learn. The shape of the building and the design and the flow should be as much as an educational not challenge, I would say, but it should spark some sort of creativity.
You should see
inside
some of
that.
these schools built in the 60s. They did this like circular a concept. There's several of them in Jackson and several of them in anyway around Tennessee, and it's like we're all a community, we're all a circle. It's
Well,
very interesting. But okay, I was going back to my point. Go ahead.
So when you institutionalize, it almost feels like these schools look like prisons. And when you treat people that you have to hurry up and you have so many periods during the day, you have to hurry up and rush, and you don't give teachers like resources to be able to lead the class like they need to. And then you really downplay the threat of school shootings and school violence and then bullying, and you don't fund things properly. Then you create this sort of mini prison almost. Absolutely, that is an extreme thing. But you look at like how everyone's treated. You cut all the funding for a lot of these public institutions, and then you wonder why everything is such a mess, and then why are teachers constantly quitting, and then why that. So then the other result is it goes down to your point, is it says, well, this is the system, this is the culture. We are meant to be teachers. We are brave warriors who suffer for the big heart that we have. And if someone else is not suffering, then you must be less of this teacher. This weird,
Or like you're not as committed or something.
yeah. And I think that's a really strange reaction that a teacher would have by not noticing how the whole system has been built up to make them react in that way.
I will say, and then we'll move on back to what we were talking about, but not all schools are this way. It's just a lot of them are, and a lot of them have that like heavy judgment. But I've been substitute teaching for Westview High School, and I have been like so enjoying it. And I'm sure that they have their problems, but I don't know what they are, and they're not evident. You can't just like see it on the kids and see it in like the hallways. What I see instead is like a lot of joy coming from these kids. I know that they all don't have great lives, but they have enough time in between their classes that they're able to like talk with each other and actually get a break. I specifically remember some schools that I attended and some schools that I taught at that they said, we are going to cut as much time as possible in between class changes. Class changes are a privilege, and we want to cut it down to 3 minutes, because if you're in a hurry, you're not going to get into some kind of trouble because you've got to get your butt to class. And then they would still enforce detentions when kids were tardy. And it was overcrowded hallways, and it was crazy. And this was schools that I attended, and this was schools that I taught at.
So do you think that you got the judgment because that person did not want to teach and there was a confusion why you got out of something? You don't need to do it, but you're doing it for what you want, or that why are you wasting your time when you're not making enough money? Like, I don't understand.
I think it was something like, why, whenever you have a degree in education, why aren't you using it to be a teacher? Like, why instead are you going to substituting, which you can do if you don't even have a degree? And
so you're wasting your time. That was the judgment?
It might be that. It might be I wasted my time, or it might be like Courtney doesn't know what she's doing.
Oh.
Like why would she do that? Like, that's so dumb. But I mean, I've had so much freedom with it. I don't have the stress of lesson plans and getting all the grading done and all this stuff.
This is what bothers me, okay? This bothers me a little bit.
But I still get to be with kids. I taught a kid in special ed how to tie his shoes. It was so much fun.
And that's what life is. I mean, why? Even if you had all the money in the world, because you don't have to work. I so appreciate you working. I think it's super impressive. I'm really happy that you want to do that. That not only that you have something, but you want to do something productive.
Thank you. So
it's like, it's not about, I'm just going to go do whatever. It's about being productive,
Mm-hmm.
And like teaching is a noble thing. And so not only is it noble in that way and productive in that way, but it also makes a little bit of money. And I think that's amazing.
You mean substitute teaching?
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, substitute teaching. So I just don't understand, like, whenever you're, like, for instance, if we had all the money and we don't, I would still be doing this. I'll be doing this right now. I love it.
Yeah, well, and that's...
In media.
I guess that's what I want to talk about, because I've been having so much fun doing this job, and I've been having so much fun with the range of it, and like just letting these kids, I don't know, talk to me and share their lives with me and getting to be a witness to them. It's so fun, and it's so different every single day. And I just love it. Like I go in there and I hope that I'm smiling because I'm really happy to be there. And sometimes if it's older kids and they don't really need me, I'm just kind of like a babysitter, I get to read or I get to talk to them. And some of them now, they know that I'm the coffee lady, and they're like, why don't you bring me coffee? And I'm like, Oh, I don't, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. And, anyway, I guess I just think people, not everyone has the freedom to get to have any job that they want. A lot of the time you have obligations that you need to make a certain number.
Sure.
For us, we're making that number with coffee and with Fernway Fox.
Yeah.
And so this is something that's extra.
So we're in this.
It's a unique position.
Yeah, it's a unique position where we can really focus on being productive in a humanitarian way, and then creating something for the future of what we want to do on this next level. Because I'm doing what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I am doing what I want.
I'm doing what I want too, and
but
that's
I'm
great.
not doing what I want in the next 5 years. So
Okay.
in 5 years, I don't want to be doing a few of the things that I'm doing even right now.
I'm loving being Henry's mom. Like, I'm having so much fun being Henry's mom. He's so precious, and I'm teaching him so much every single day.
Yeah.
And like cuddles are so important, and the time together is so great. And then, I get to, help out another teacher and, watch their class, maybe teach them a little something. And you get to have that Henry time.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed
And
it.
that's
It's made
what
me,
our day-to-day looks like right now.
Yeah, and it's made me respect a lot of the first year of what you went through. And I don't want to say you went through it, but you went through it. I was working 6 till whenever I got home super late because I was trying to figure out the automation of the coffee shop and everything else. And I really did not understand the amount of dedication that it took, the concentration on a child. He just goes and he's like, he's touching that, he's running there, he's moving over there, he's like pulls that down. Like, you cannot think, and it's very difficult to do anything other than just be with him. And when you realize that your whole purpose for the day, your whole value, what gives you that amazing feeling at the end of the day, like I'd accomplished something, is that my child, that is my child, has been looked after and fed and changed and played with creative toys and tried to be taught something, and that is enough fulfillment for that day. I never felt that way. I mean, it took a very long time as he was developing that I had the opportunity to do that, because you were always home. Like, I rarely watched him. I don't want to say unattended, but when was inside that first year, was there a day that I had him for a whole block of time? I don't think so. I mean, that was your whole job. I mean, the reason you were able to come and step back and be there with him was because I created a bunch of stuff and you helped with that. But it was really amazing to have the opportunity of reversing that role and saying, you know what, officially, I'm going to completely step back from everything. There's a gap time from now until mid-April, right, for where I'm crazy committed to work. But right now I'm not, right? And you go teach on your own time, when you want, how you want.
And like I said no the other day because Henry had an appointment, and we like to both be there if we can whenever he gets his shots.
We've always been at all of them together.
Yeah.
And so it's been really rewarding to like flip that role and say, wow, I mean, this is extremely difficult, because I would come home at the end of the day and I'd be like, oh man, why are these like dishes not done? Why is this not done? I'll just be honest. And like, why? I don't understand. Like, and it was never a comparative thing. Like, oh, I did this, and this. I was like, no, I was like, I have this problem with order, and it's getting worse, and I'm really working on it. But it's very difficult for me to have things that are like out of order, and I can like physically feel the things that are not organized. And I don't have OCD. It's not that severe, and it shouldn't be joked about having OCD. It's a very serious like condition. I don't have that, but it is really affecting me. And I think the more that I was in that house and in an environment where things were constantly out of order, even like structurally for the house out of order, it was very hard to like operate in that environment. And sure, like I should be stronger and not be so susceptible to like what's around me. But dear God, like I'm already trying to figure out all this other kind of crap. And then I come home and it's like and then a little kid, he's running around. And so it was a hard time.
Your son?
Yeah, little guy, he's just running around.
What does he need?
God, why is this kid here? But, when everything flipped from me, I was thinking, oh my God, he just like, I turned my head for 2 seconds. And then there's like 10 things out of place.
Yeah.
And if you can watch him now, he'll start picking things up and putting them back into just boxes. I was like, oh man. man.
But
Part of me is in there.
it may not be the same box though. Like
I would just scatter them.
I was like, where is my phone?
Apple Car in the trash.
Well, my phone was in the laundry hamper. So he put it away. He put it in a container
Yeah.
in the laundry hamper.
Everything needs to be in containers.
It just needs to be
At
in
least
a
that
container.
at least that he's getting that.
I am so glad that the toilet is not yet one of these containers.
Yeah.
He took my phone and he was headed toward the bathroom and I said, no. And I grabbed it.
I think what we could do is actually get the same size cubic feet boxes and then paint colors on them. I think this might be kind of cool. And then he could learn to organize based upon color. And so like all cars go in the red bin. I just thought about that.
We could do
right
that.
now.
I mean, right now his cars are in the right bin. His puzzles and mind games are in the middle bin. And then his miscellaneous small toys are in the left
See,
bin.
people might be thinking that that's a little extreme.
No, it's not that bad.
Let me tell you, like, the way to be able to create something outside of what you're doing right now financially is simply organizing information. And that's all it is. Like the coffee house, there's just an enormous amount of things that you have to know how to do. Well, it's gathering that information, organize it in a systematic way, and then showing that to other people for them to know how to do in a very simple way. That's what you're doing. Same thing with weddings, same thing with marketing, same thing with like larger scale campaigns that you run for people. You're taking in information, analyze it, you learn it, you package it, and then you sell it. And that is the process of which we've just done over and over and over again. And this new really big chapter is how do we do this with media and like using, I don't know, all of this kind of stuff. That's the next thing. So it's not extreme.
Next. There's a project. There's a project that's next.
Yes. Well, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be in this space. I'm happy for season 2. I'm happy for these plants. I don't know how to do everything, but I'm very optimistic about not over leveraging everything that we have now, that we're investing more inside of ourselves.
Yes.
And
We're investing. We're investing
it's
in
not about
ourselves.
way more, like you were saying, way more than self-care. This is like we're paying the price to be invested. We're saying we're worth this amount.
We're worth this amount.
Yeah.
Our psyche is worth this amount. Our
Yeah.
trading off the stress. I'm sorry, like
Cheers
freeing
to
up
that.
your bandwidth. Separating yourself, even if it's only 60 minutes away or 80 minutes away,
It's a
separating
difference.
yourself physically.
Yeah.
You don't know how many times John would leave in the middle of the night, or I would leave in the middle of the night. We forgot to do this. We've got to go do this.
Yeah.
And we would, or I got to go check on that. Okay, I did do it. You know what I mean? Like, did we lock up? We did lock up. And just to not have that stress right down the road.
I was so worried that an hour wasn't enough.
It's enough.
And it is enough.
It's
It
enough.
is
And I'm
enough.
glad it's not more, because I do
don't wanna be
want
anymore.
the option of going back every day if we want. Like today you said, do you want to go back with me? And I said, not today. I want to be with Henry here at the house and get some boxes taken care of. And you said, okay, well, I have a list of things, so I'm going to go ahead and do them. And I was like, you go right ahead and do them.
Yeah, and it's marketed by itself. I know we're about to be done, but like,
Oh yeah, we
I
have a
hired
really great,
Mia's doing so good. I hired Mia and I'm training her, and then now she has like her content plans. And
she's been
how to organize
posting
it.
most of the pictures that you guys
I'm not
see.
even
She's
posting
been
anymore.
taking the images. You'll see her out there in front of the shop.
believe
She's like, you know,
That's
like,
what's so crazy. We automated the most complicated part, which is marketing, and
John,
that's very
you
hard
automated.
to do. That. Okay,
you did it.
I'm just super excited about it. As all. I mean,
So that goes back to having a good team.
took 3 years to do.
Like people think like, you know, I can't trust someone to do it, or I don't know how to train, or
I don't want to pay for it.
or I don't want to pay for it, or I have to do it all myself. And the thing is like, it does take some organization. It does take some time, and you know, time is money. So that's,
For instance, like I really suck at booking clients. I hate talking to people. I really hate talking to people. I don't like texting. I don't like emailing. I don't like I like talking on the phone, but I don't like doing that. And so like when I would have clients, oh man, I just wouldn't get back to them. I wouldn't communicate properly. I
here
have
comes
Tanya.
Enter Tanya.
Guess what, Tanya? Tanya, boom. We went from, oh my gosh, like we went from 30,000 from me doing it to $100,000 this last year.
With her doing it.
Because she's just booking, book.
And then we
it's
have little
crazy.
systems for her. So she has these
So she has
different like
little templates.
email templates for different situations.
Insert copy text here, send out, and she's like, boom. So like we'll
And
get
then
it
she has her own little system to keep up with everything. And
3
like,
hours. 3 hours.
she's just so good. She's
Click,
they're
click,
both
click,
good.
click.
But you know what, John?
It's so awesome.
You hired them, okay? And I want to just praise you for that.
Okay,
You
well,
did a good job.
it's about hiring where you're weak and knowing what that is.
And you're very weak at
Yeah,
that.
I'm very weak at that. I'm so
You're
bad.
very weak at that.
I will keep Tanya as long as she possibly wants to work with me, and I'll make it worth her while working because she is amazing at that, and I want her on my team. And Mia, what a surprise. Like, I didn't know that someone could pick that up and do that. I'm so proud of her for like.
We're going to tell them like, listen to our podcast.
And last time I want to say just a super, like the new people that we just hired. Like,
the newbies.
They're rock stars.
For the Martin's Coffee and Bakery.
And they're just doing so well. And I was like, I feel so comfortable now, like having a shop that's run by experienced people.
I was working with one of them on Register, and I was like, so yeah, this is great. I know that you're new, but like, how many shifts have you had? I can tell you're really catching on fast. And she's like, so this is my first day on Register. Yeah. And I was like, what? And she's like, I was here yesterday, but I didn't do Register. And I was like,
well, that's what happens when you hired experienced people like Shelby and Brooke did so well.
They're both incredible.
Everybody's just finally getting trained. Like, we're finally getting to a very beautiful space with all the different businesses. And when you lean on people and you pay them and you treat them well, which we do, then you can go and accomplish more. And it's about investing in them and investing in yourself and just being willing to lay the money down and the trust down to, I don't know, live your life and do what you need to do and grow. But okay, it's been great. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for listening to season 2 of the Act Natural podcast.
1, or maybe we'll call it whatever the next episode is, like 27, or I don't know what we're on. But anyway.
Season 2, episode 1. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.